Hello, and welcome to another episode of Crystallized Experience with Crystal. That's me. Today, I need to finish talking or continue talking about my experience with grieving. First, I want to thank everybody who has reached out and for all the love and the understanding. It means a lot. For those that I've been able to assist, thank you for even thinking that I'm qualified due to my experiences to do that. So I'm glad to help in any way that I can. I wanted to speak about how awesome our God is. Well, I need to do the year of 2019. What I didn't tell you was that after my mother passed away, I got to the point where I could not pass by the hospital that she passed in. I could not pass by it. For many years, I would take a different route so that I would not have to pass by that particular hospital. I went through a time period where I could not see a hearse, and I had problems with any type of funeral home, or I had issues with horrible nightmares. I just had a lot of residual effects from there that came off of from death, from funerals, caskets, bodies, the entire nine. Like I went into a very deep depression, and I had a lot of problems with that. So the way that God moved me, which I love, the song "Our God is Awesome." He can move mountains. Okay. So in 2019, the process began about April. I had a family friend whose father was ill, and he was out of town. And he called me. He said, "Hey, I need you to get to the hospital. My dad's in the hospital." Well, it's my family, my friend. I love them. So I jumped up and I went to be beside his mom at the hospital. But where I was the hospital where my mother passed, as well as in the ICU unit across the hall from where my mother passed, where I had grown these horrible, horrible altars around these places that I had to break. Well, I spent about the next 2 to 3 weeks going back and forth to the hospital. He ended up having he had like 2 procedures done, and ended up going back to the hospital again, things like that. So I was in that waiting room. Well, what I did not know was on May 5th. So we came out of April. We went into May 5th, 2019. I got a phone call that my mother-in-law was ill. Now, during this time, I am going through an active divorce at that time. The divorce began in the year 2017, and that divorce lasted for 4 years. It took us 4 years to completely dissolve that marriage. Well, during that time period, his mother became ill. Well, she was in the ICU unit, and I had to sit in that exact same ICU waiting room that I spent 2 weeks in when my mother was in the hospital. Well, I had vowed that I wasn't going to go and sit in that hospital waiting room ever again. There was nothing you could do to make me go to that hospital. I wasn't going to take my children. Anybody that knew me knew, don't take me there. Do not take me there. If I get ill, pass it up. Don't call the ambulance. Drive me. I do not want to go there. I no. Well, never say never. Whew. Because he took me there in April, and I did it. And then in May, for an entire week, I went every day. I may not have stayed long, but I went to check on my mother-in-law and the family, because even though I was getting a divorce, it was still my family. Well, what nobody really knew was that my mother-in-law was in the exact same room 6, in the ICU unit that my mother had passed in many years prior, 19 years to be exact, prior to. Well, so being there for that many days, it was tough. I didn't discuss that part with anybody, because it was almost surreal. Like, this can't be happening. And she ended up passing in that same room. And the scene was almost played the exact same way that it happened to me 19 years prior to. And so I was very, very, I was confused. Like, he's moving a mountain. I did not know he was moving a mountain. I had no idea of what was coming down the road. So that's May, the beginning. That's May, the beginning of May. We go through the funeral. I get a phone call on May 17th. I think it is May 17th. Yes, Preston was born on May 22nd. I get a call on May 17th that my sister is ill, and let me explain. There was a very, very tragic, traumatic situation that happened between my sister and I 2 years prior to this moment, which caused us not to speak. And I say caused, but where we decided, or I can't even say exactly how, but we did not speak for 2 years. From 2017 up until she was in the hospital May 17th of 2019, I had not seen or spoken to my sister. Now, this is my sister that we did everything together. We bartended together. We ran the businesses, the dance, my dance studio together. We partied together. She dressed me. Most times people didn't know that at the time if I had to go somewhere, I would just send her and she would pick out an outfit, and whatever she brought back, I would wear it. We worked at the agencies together, at the mental health agencies together, like literally one room over from each other. We could, if she started huffing and puffing too much, I could hear it. I knew. And we worked together for years in the same office. It's all gonna make sense in a minute. So we hadn't seen each other for 2 years. The first time I see her is May 17th, 2019. Please, you have to excuse me because my heart's beating really fast right now. So, May 17th, 2019. And she's sitting up in the bed. She's talking. She's pregnant. She's excited. She's getting ready to have a beautiful, bouncing baby boy. But at the time, she's only 6.5 months pregnant. And having some complications. The doctors think that they had it together, had it all laid out. They were calling in the neonatal unit from New Orleans to come up to take a look at things, to see what they needed to do. And prior to them making it there, she spiked a fever. So she was in the hospital on the 17th, and then on the 21st, I think I went back, I saw her again on the 19th, and they said they have to do a emergency C-section on the 22nd. Now, the issue with all of this is that I got a phone call from a friend. I was calling them to ask them about the diagnosis that my sister had gotten. And I am so thankful to this young lady. I'll forever be in her debt. In the midst of trying to explain to me what the diagnosis was, she stopped and she said, "You need to go see your sister now." And I said, "What?" She said, "Do not take another minute." She said, "You go and you do whatever you need to do to get yourself together, but you need to go right now and see your sister." I didn't tell anybody about me going to see her because everybody wanted me to go, and they wouldn't say it because they kind of felt like I would be angry or would have fuss, and because I know how to lash out really well. We'll talk about anger management later. But I didn't tell them I was going until I was outside, and I had a cousin that was like, "Put me on mute. I want to make sure you make it in that room." And I did. And they also didn't want me to say anything wrong when I got in the room. So I'm grateful for her telling me, "Hey, you need to go now. The Spirit has spoken that you need to go now. This is very serious. This is very serious, and you don't want to have any regrets." So I go, I see her. I think I ended up going back again, or my dad called to tell me what was going on. And then I get a phone call that I need to get up and come to the hospital right now on May 22nd. And I get up and I run to the hospital, and they had she had given birth to my nephew at 6:01 a.m. On May 22nd. But she began to have more complications. So for the next 5 days, the hospital worked through the complications, or tried to work through them as best that they could from what I was told. What I'm grateful for is the 5 days. We got to talk. We got to tell each other that we loved each other, because at this point there is absolutely nothing that mattered more than her understanding that I loved her and that she loves me. I had no idea that those were the last 5 days. Nobody thought those were the last. You never think that those are the last days. So she and I get an opportunity to spend time together. I spend the night there. I go in anytime they allow us in. Well, things got really bad, and they ended up having to airlift her to another city. And when they began to say they were going to airlift her, I immediately jumped up, got ready to get my things together so that me and my dad could head to New Orleans. We drive. They airlift her. She gets there a couple hours before us. We sent our aunt and cousin who were in Lafayette. We sent them to the hospital. My dad and I drive all the way there. This was the other part I forgot to tell you. That when we got to Brookhaven, Mississippi, we got a phone call that one of my younger cousins back home had passed away that day. We had just passed away. So he had just graduated college, pledged a fraternity, and he passed away in his sleep. And he was younger than my sister. I dare to quote his age because I don't want to get it wrong. But he was younger than my sister. My sister was 31. I believe he was 26. I don't remember exactly at the time. So he passes away right before we make it to my sister. When we get to my sister, we're getting into the driveway, and I get a phone call to tell me that she had coded twice, and then we needed to get in there. She's her third time coding, and we need to get in there. I honestly, the very first time it was said to me, I was like, "Stop playing! Like, what are you talking about?" And then my cousin screams, and I said, when she screamed, I knew it was real. We began to run. I can remember every single moment, and this is a part of the hoarding part. Like, I have the sticker from where the woman wrote the room number where I needed to go to on the back of my cell phone case. Yeah, I took that cell phone case off and put it in a plastic bag because I'll forever have that sticker. In the elevator, I completely lost it. When we get upstairs, there's so much going on. I lost it. I lost it. I don't even remember how I got back on the phone with my cousins. I don't remember getting off the phone with them. I don't know if we got back on the phone, but I just remember hearing them screaming my name. And then I hear all the beeps stop. And when I heard all the beeps stop, yeah. So, I did not understand. We were supposed to be there for the next 5 days for a transplant. We were prepared to be in the city for 5 days. I'm thankful for the 5 days I had, but I thought I had 5 more days because I just needed her to know that I loved her, and she knew that, and I'm so grateful because what God does is He does all things well. He gave us the opportunity to sit together, laugh, to cry together, for me to care for her, had to give her some lippy stick while we were in the hospital because her lips were getting dry, and I got to give her ice, and I got to comb her hair, and I got to care for her like I did when she was a baby. So when I grieve her like she's my child. I I still worry about her like she's here. I'm sorry. I often think she's just somewhere else. So what I want you to know about God is I'm grateful for the 2 years. Man, I never thought I would be able to say this to anyone or anybody, especially not on a platform like this. I'm grateful for the 2 years because I'm not sure that if I hadn't learned how to live without her for the 2 years, that I would have been able to live this long without her. God gave me 2 years to learn how to dress myself without calling her, do my hair, deal with my kids, because it was me and her since my mom died. As far as here in the city, we have other siblings, but here in the city it was just us, and we really did everything together. We were together all the time. He gave me 2 years to get myself together. I'm grateful that he gave me 2 years. Then he was gracious enough to give me the 5 days. He didn't have to give me the 5 days, but he did. So then she left this amazing bundle of joy here with us. He is now 2 years old. He is running and talking and jumping and doing his thing. He is everything she is. You can even see her little old smirk sometime in his face. I never ever thought I could say thank you, God, for the 2 years of separation, because separation sometimes is absolutely necessary to preserve you. God, thank you even for the trauma that I went through, because that was the only way you were going to separate me from her, to save me, because he had to break my heart to save my life, because he knew that in 2 years I was going to have to say goodbye, but I didn't. And so I'm grateful today to be able to say thank you, God, for the 2 years. It was tough. It was tough, but I did it, and I'm so grateful for the 5 days. So she ended up passing 5 days after having her son, on May 27th, and we sent her off with a bang. It was a celebration of her life, because she lived a good life. She had fun. She was happy. She to know her was to love her. Then on July 1st, my godfather decided that he was tired of fighting, and he went home. He was buried on July 6th. I did not know that from April of 2019 until July 6th of 2019 that I would go through in the manner that I went through. My godfather passed at home, so it wasn't the hospital, but it was just as bad. Grieving is something that is a part of everything you do, and you have to be mindful of making sure that you do it properly, because if you don't, you won't have anything to give anybody. And you don't go through anything in this life and learn anything in this life not to be able to pass it on. It's called wisdom. It's called the ability to love. And I hope that me sharing my story is allowing you to understand that you're not alone, and that if you keep walking and you keep going, one day you'll even see the great movement that he's brought in your life. He will literally move mountains, because our God is awesome. He can move mountains, keep you in the valley, and even hide you from the rain. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day. Be blessed.